What up, though? Your boy Meech, aka the Siage Saint. Hope everyone's doing well. Time for another fragrance video, and today we'll be talking about some unheralded, underrated clone fragrances. Let's get into it. All right, so as I stated in the intro, I'll be talking about some underrated, unheralded clone fragrances. I have 8 here to discuss that either get little to no fanfare, or maybe they once were hype beasts and don't get talked about as much anymore. The first fragrance we're going to talk about comes from the house of Grandeur Elite, and this fragrance is Tribal Exotic. If you can't tell by the coloration of the juice in the bottle, this is an interpretation of Le Beau Paradise Garden, and it is actually pretty good. Shout out to my man Walt, Fatboy Finesse. He did a review on this fragrance that actually prompted me to buy this fragrance. I haven't seen many other people talk about this one, but it is solid. You get that bubblegum sweetness. There's a little spice here. There's a watery feel with this fragrance as well. You get a little bit of that tropical vibe. This is a really solid scent, perfect for the warm weather months. I've worn this quite a bit this summer. I've worn it to the gym. I've worn it out and about, and it definitely generates compliments. Paid about $30 for it on Fragflex. I think it's worth that. I know there are other Le Beau Paradise Garden interpretations out there. This is one that you might want to check out. I think it's solid. Again, this is Tribal Exotic by Grandeur Elite. All right, next up is a fragrance that did get quite a bit of fanfare in FragCom a couple of years back. I think fall of 2023, this was really popping. I know that's around the time that I bought it. This fragrance is from the house of Fragrance World, and this is Starman Nebula. So this is an interpretation of a discontinued fragrance, Amen Pure Malt by Mugler. So what you get here is kind of this fruity, boozy, sweet, woody fragrance. There's some fruity notes in here. There's orange in here. I think there is a whiskey accord, if I'm not mistaken. Malt is in the fragrance. I think this even has a coffee note as well. So a lot going on here, but essentially fruity, sweet, woody, and you definitely get a booziness with this fragrance. It kind of has a fun, playful feel. I usually would wear this kind of in the cooler weather months, fall and winter, particularly in the evening. Not necessarily something that I'm going to wear like to the office, but it's a fun fragrance. I keep it around because Pure Malt is discontinued, so I want to have that DNA in the collection, and this is a good alternative. I'm willing to bet this one is probably like 20 bucks these days, because a couple years back it was around $45. So you probably can find this one pretty cheap. I think it's a solid take on Pure Malt. This again is Starman Nebula by Fragrance World. All right, so the next fragrance we're going to talk about comes from the independent house Making Sense. They make their own original fragrances. They do the hybrid interpretations, and of course, they do some inspired by takes as well. One of my favorite inspired by takes is a fragrance that they call Triton, and this is a take on Roja Dove's Oceana. It is a fantastic fragrance. Literally smells like you're walking along the ocean side. You get a lot of beautiful citrus in this fragrance. It's a bit powdery as well, woody. This is great. It is definitely a compliment getter. As you can see, I'm like 2/3 through this decant here, or maybe not 2/3. I'm not even halfway through, but I will definitely be looking into getting a backup bottle of this. It is a compliment getter. It's even like some glitter in there as well. It's very unique presentation, but the fragrance smells fantastic. Great for the warm weather months. Like I said, a compliment getter. Last time I wore this, I got a couple of compliments wearing it. I absolutely love this one. This is one of 4 that I have from Making Sense, and I like all 4, but this is definitely my favorite. Again, this is Triton by Making Sense. All right, next up is a fragrance that I have absolutely been glazing, and rightfully so. I just recently went live with my homeboys BT Sense and Gator, aka the Novice Nose, and this was one of my 5 clones for life. It comes from French Avenue, and this is Glorious Oud Royal Blanc. This is an interpretation of Initio's Must Therapy, and I think it's fantastic, and enough people aren't talking about it. This, got very little fanfare, if I'm not mistaken. I think I've seen like Vegas Scents talk about this one. I know my man Scent Bubble SB talks about this one quite a bit. I think he loves it probably as much as I do. I think it is a fantastic interpretation of Must Therapy. It's an extrait de parfum. Get like 7 to 8 hours out of the wearing experience. even longer than that as a skin scent. It garners compliments. This is an absolute banger. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's one of my favorites, no doubt. Again, this is Glorious Oud Royal Blanc by French Avenue. All right, next up is a fragrance from the house of Atour Al Alem, which is actually under the Fragrance World umbrella. And this fragrance is called Nazi Gold. Now, there is a Nazi Silver. The bottle is, you guessed it, silver. That is an interpretation of the discontinued Boss Bottled Intense. That fragrance gets quite a bit of love in FragCom. I've seen several creators talk about that fragrance. This one, not as much. I know Aromatics has spoken about this fragrance. It is an interpretation of 1 Million Golden Oud by Rabanne, or Paco Rabanne. His mama call him Paco. I'm going to call him Paco. But this is a very masculine fragrance. Woody, spicy, leathery. This is definitely kind of like, you know, a Middle Eastern take on that 1 Million DNA. You definitely get the spice here. I know there's like pepper in here, maybe saffron. I know there is oud, obviously. There is leather in the fragrance as well. Very masculine scent. I have not done anything other than test this fragrance. I have not given it a wearing yet because I actually got this like in the spring when it had already warmed up, and I do kind of wear my fragrances, you know, seasonally. That's just kind of how I get down. But once the weather cools down, I'll definitely give this some wearings. It kind of gives me evening out vibes. Very grown man type of scent, very mature fragrance, but I think it smells good. It smells really good, and this is coming from a guy who doesn't like oud that much, but this is a good one, man. I kind of threw it in to get free shipping, but I'm surprised at how much I like this. Again, this is Nazi Gold by Atour Al Alem. All right, next up is a fragrance from the house of Afnan that is definitely on the back of the bus in terms of how much this fragrance gets talked about, but it's actually pretty good. Again, this is from Afnan, and this is Edict Mystique. Now, I know Ross has talked about this fragrance, a couple of other creators as well, and I don't even remember how I stumbled upon this, but I paid like $25 for a tester. This is a very fresh, clean, almost like laundry-like smelling fragrance, but it features some oud and some aromatics in the dry down that give you a little bit of a twist that kind of surprises you. This smells to me like, especially in the dry down, the mint and the oud reminds me so much of Mancera's Oud Lemon Mint, except without the citruses, the almond, and this is definitely more on the fresher side. So think, like I said, fresh linens, fresh laundry out of the dryer, and then as it dries down, it adds like a mint accord and some oud. Now, Fragrantica compares this to Arabian Oud Sultani, which I have never smelled. I know there are a ton of guys out there that really love that fragrance. This is also compared to a fragrance called For White from the house of Marchad. I think that's how you pronounce it, but I haven't smelled that one either. So I really have no frame of reference to compare this to, but this is a beautiful scent. There's some florals in here as well. I've worn this to work, and I've gotten a couple of compliments wearing it to work. I think even though it has oud in it, it is a very wearable oud. This is a very office safe scent. Very clean, green, fresh, and a little oudy. It's definitely a good fragrance. Not many people talk about it. I think it's solid. Again, this is Edict Mystique by Afnan. All right, and last but not least is a fragrance. A little bit of hype in FragCom. People do talk about this one, but it is so good. I wish it got talked about a little bit more. This is another fragrance from that French Avenue conglomerate over there at Fragrance World. This is Mirage Absolute, and I think this fragrance is fantastic. It is a great interpretation of Layton Exclusive. So you get that, you know, woody, spicy, you know, sweetness that Layton is known to give you, but then this has some darker, richer, deeper accords. I think there's coffee in here. I think there's you know, some oud in here. There's definitely more woody, more dark, a darkened take on that Layton DNA, but it's great. I really like the way this smells. I'm a Layton fanboy. I love Layton, and I do like this more kind of, you know, darkened, deeper, masculine, mature take on the DNA. This is solid. The quality on this is great. The bottle is fantastic, but the fragrance is just as good. Don't sleep on this one, man. You definitely should check this one out. Again, this is Mirage Absolute by French Avenue. Well, there you have it, guys. 8 underrated cologne fragrances, or at least underrated in my opinion, that you should know about, or maybe even think about adding to your collection. Do you own any of these fragrances? Have you smelled any of them? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I love to hear about them. Be sure to check out my social media for more. Please like and subscribe wherever you're watching this. That will be greatly appreciated. Once again, it's your boy Meech, aka the Sea Saint. Until next time, take care. Peace.